Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are in the world. Welcome to the BNS podcast. My guest today is a TEDx speaker, a writer, a business coach, and a bestseller of 13 books. He's also the CEO of Knowledge Industry Limited. Welcome to the BNS podcast. For the first time, hopefully not the last time, our CEO and top leader, Emeka Nobis. Emeka, hi, how you doing, buddy?
Hi, Ike. Thank you so much. I'm grateful to be here. I look forward to a very beautiful conversation. I hope you can hear me clearly, loud and clearly.
Oh, we can hear you over here. The world can hear you, Emeka. I'm going to hear your
Okay.
story. So
Thank
listen,
you.
Emeka, from our research, we found out that you were engineer. We were into the engineering world, working with an oil and gas company. But then I noticed that you had transitioned from STEM science and you moved into humanities. That's not a normal thing. What prompted that move? Can you share your story on how you got there?
Okay, so I can tell you for a fact that I understood that I had a gift of writing as early as at the age of 7. And even right now, my first daughter, I can still see the traits in her. Every time I travel, she's always telling me to buy books and to buy pens for her. So at the age of 7, she's writing. But there's a difference between just having the gift of writing and being able to polish it to the point that it becomes commercial for you. And so I went to university. I kept on writing essay competitions when I was in secondary school. Then in university, I studied mechanical engineering. And by the time I got out of university and got a job, I was taken out of Nigeria to Italy to go to train on how to become a middle manager, so to say, how to handle people on site, build teams and all that. And by the time I got back, there was something I did. I wouldn't say it was very unique. It's not something out of the world. I realized that the people I was working with at the time, some of them had quite some issues. They were not just technically inclined. They had issues with their wives at home. They had issues with raising their kids. They had issues with relating with their fellow colleagues at work. So what I did was I got what I call the motivation board. Then I was heading a particular workshop back then. And so I got what I call the motivation board. And on that motivation board, every day, I will write something, because I already had a good writing skill. So I write something that had to do with motivation, something that had to do with relationship, something that had to do with marriage, because I felt that all these things were all together, intertwined together and helping you to be an effective worker on site. And people were reading those things. They loved reading those stuff that I was putting up on that motivation board. And my colleagues that were not on site, who were not working on site, but in other offices, in the offices, we have people in the offices and then you have those in the workshops. Some of them will come to the workshop and say, Emeka, why don't you include us in these things that you're writing? And so what I did was I collected their emails, as many of them that wanted me to write, to them. I collected their mails, and every Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays, I was writing emails to them. But there was something that was very striking for me. At that point, people began to reach out to me that my writing had been a blessing to them. They loved the things I was writing, how they were based, how their lives were being transformed as a result of my written pieces. And then I had already taken to social media, Facebook specifically, to put out my thoughts, my writings every day. So I'll be driving to work. I'll write something before getting to the office. During lunchtime, while others were eating at lunchtime, I will eat my food in 30 minutes. And then I'll spend 30 minutes writing on Facebook. And then after work, when we closed from work at 6 o'clock, by 8 o'clock, I was home because my house wasn't so far from the office at the time. And then I'll write again before going to bed. And so a lot of individuals kept on reaching out. Oh, man, you are doing amazing. We love what you're writing. And then I began to also work on my speaking because I realized that, speaking is my secondary talent. That's what I call it. And so I began to also learn how to speak in public. And then I realized that it was a very beautiful combination at the time. People would reach out to me to tell me how I have blessed their lives, how my writing, people began to share my works. And so I decided to write a book. So that was in 2012. I got that job in 2006, but by 2010, 11, I had made up my mind to write a book. So I wrote my first book called The Profound Life. And it didn't sell so much at the time because I didn't really know how to market books at that time. But that was my first foray into publishing a book. And so I began to have this nudge. A lot more people began to invite me to speak at events. Quite painfully was the fact that I got that was what even made me to want to resign, because I got a gig to go and speak in a bank during on a Thursday. And my bosses refused to give me to leave the office to leave the site to go to speak at the event. And it was very painful. So I decided I was going to walk and transit and be able to. It wasn't that I wasn't fulfilled as doing my engineering job, but I felt that something much more magical, something much more fulfilling was the fact that people would read my works and they will come back to say that they actually got blessed. There's something so beautiful about people transforming from the depth on the inside. It wasn't something that was external, but something that was, from the inside as a result of the things that I read, and seeing that being manifest in different aspects of their lives, in their relationship, at work, how productive they became and all that. I felt that was a higher purpose for me than engineering. I mean, back then you go to work, you're within the cubicle, you're there, you do your job, you go home, come back the next day, just like that, year after year. I felt like going out there in the world and being a bigger blessing was a better path for me. So I began to plan my transition. So between 2010, when I had made up my mind that I was going to resign, and 2016, I was plotting my.
You were plotting your transition out of the workspace into your calling and your purpose. I want to believe this is a good place for us to take a quick break and then come back when Emeka is ready.
Yeah, I'm back now.
Welcome back, Emeka. Yeah, you were right.
Thank you very much.
Sorry, there.
So at that point, I decided I was going to create my transition, and so I began to go to individuals who had gone on the same path, who had left their jobs to focus on the things that they were doing, and I began to receive pieces of information, advice, strategies on how to implement my transition. So I began to put all that, exposing my brand. I traveled to so many cities, did events, spoke at events, held my own conferences. I was spending monies that I was being paid as salaries. Every time that I get paid a salary, I take out a chunk from it, and then I'll host an event. I'll travel, host a conference, just to make sure that people began to know who Emeka Nobis was. And so I did that for 5 good years. And in 2016, I resigned, and I'm pursuing this path now. I speak at events, I host my conferences, I write my books. And just to let you know, I started out a real estate company in 2022. So it's not that it's not just writing books and all that. I had to start foraying into some other things, and I'm quite happy about that. But don't misunderstand the fact that the primary thing that I enjoy doing is writing, and then, as I said, secondarily is speaking. So, but every day I wake up, I'm always writing. Every day I wake up. Currently, right now, I'm writing 7 books at the same time. I hope to launch them on the date of my birthday next year when I turn 45. So that's a nutshell about my transition. I didn't just stand up and just, the individuals will tell you, oh, if it's inside of you, just go do it. No. I wanted to have a process. I didn't just want to just up and leave like that,
You had a plan in place.
Exactly. So I had an exit plan. I'm not saying that some individuals who have just gone to the office and said, oh, boss, I'm leaving today, and they left. It didn't work out for them. But I didn't want that kind of life. I just wanted something that was methodical, something that had the procedure, something that was, that had the process to it. And so that was what I did, paid attention to all the things my mentors were telling me all the things of the coaches were telling me and all that to execute. And I did all that, and then I transited. So today I think I'm fulfilled. I'm enjoying what I'm doing, traveling around and speaking and touching lives. When I watch the videos, after going to my events and I watch the videos of how people are hugging me, how there's the smiles on their faces, and then they send me messages and say, oh, your session was a blessing to me. I was impacted. I'm doing this now. I'm doing that now. One of the things, let me tell you something. One of the remarkable moments, I've had lots of remarkable moments, but I can tell you this. This is a lady that constantly tells me about her. She just constantly testifies. So last year, I usually do what I call VIP intensive. That intensive is where people come. There are just 50 of them. And then I invite other speakers to come to share. And also I speak at the event. That lady was 8 months pregnant. I mean, you could see the bulge. And she paid to come for that event. And when she was I said, Ma, you are pregnant. What if anything happens? You're traveling all the way from, a journey of about 5 hours to come to the city of Port Harcourt. What if something happens to you? She said, no, my husband is backing me. I will be at that event. She came to that event. She was working in a company where they were paying her 30,000 naira. I'm not saying 30,000 naira is so poor like that. Given the state of things in the nation, but she wasn't fulfilled. She came to that event, learned everything, went back home. And even because of the peculiar situation in the Southeast where she came from, she didn't leave on a Sunday. She left on a Tuesday because of the sit at home in Anambra State where she was. She got back home and began to put everything into practice. Guess what? Within 90 days, she resigned from her job, made her very first 1 million naira in life. And today, every day, she keeps thanking God and thanking me for coming to that event and for putting that event up. So imagine now her baby, she told me that she didn't need to leave her baby because one of the things she wanted to do was by the time she started having babies, she wanted to stay at home with them. One of her greatest joy is the fact that she stays at home with the baby and she's making money from her laptop. So her laptop is on her table. She's touching the wall from her home and she's with her baby, sometimes strapped at her back, sometimes playing around and all that. What's more joyful than that, seeing all that transformation in people's lives? I don't think I could get that in engineering, really. But then, that's it.
Yeah, man, this is a great story. Basically, you just pursued your purpose in life. End of discussion. You are on the right path, and that's why you're getting all the fulfillment because you're doing what, not what society wants you to do, but what you were born and created to do. And most times, people have challenges transitioning from what others want them to do or what others want them to be to become what they want to be. I'm definitely a true example of someone who's pursuing the things that matter most to me as a person. And I know that I can see the excitement while you're sharing, how people are because that is, and sometimes you might not make money doing that initially, but if it's a gift and a purpose, it is going to serve humanity. That is the most important thing. And then if you now monetize it or market it well and becomes a business, then now you can now begin to reap the fruits of your labor. Man, this story is so inspirational because I know that somebody just listened to you and hopefully they have. But one thing I noticed though, while you were talking to Emeka was the engineer in you, the process mind in you. You didn't just get right. So
yes,
you didn't just move
yes.
A little, or
yes, that's one thing. That's one thing right now that people would say to me, Emeka, so you've left engineering completely. And I tell them there are two things that have not left me actually from engineering. Engineers, we have this analytical mind. We analyze stuff. And secondly, we like to follow process because if you don't follow process, and I was in a company that was responsible for building rigs and oil platforms. If you don't follow the process, that rig can collapse in the sea. So and then I have this thing about, you take something, this is a paper, they give you a drawing that is like that on paper like that, if this is 2 dimensions and you're able to read that and turn that into a structure. So the ability to think of how this is going to go here, this is how to go here, that is still inside of me. And how does that play out right now? So my brother and I, we are the owners of the real estate company. I am on the path of analyzing things. So he wants things to go, just do it. But I am more of analyze this. Is this going to be good this way? Is this going to be good that way? So I'm more like a stabilizing force to him. So I stabilize things instead of let's go, let's just make it happen. I stabilize things and I tell him if you go this way, this is going to go wrong. If you do this, it's going to go wrong. And also when people come to me and they are saying certain things, sometimes I just smile because that engineering thing that is in my head is telling me this guy is just saying trash because I believe to analyze and find out that this is not the truth, that ability. And then the process thing. So if I want to get the results, there has to be a process. It's not just jump into it and just start doing. You just have to, what's the process? What can we do? Point A, point B, point C, point D, up until we get the result. So it's still inside of me, but I'm not practicing fully, so to say, but that's what it is.
No, I completely understand that. And I'm like your brother. I'm the guy who
okay.
So when I go into a partnership of any kind, I always try to make sure that my weaknesses are what my partner would definitely have, to be someone who's more process oriented and then slow me down a bit so I can process it. But still the gift of jumping out and making it happen. That's just what I was born to do. But let's take some more questions here.
Thank you.
It sounds all nice and rosy, but I know there must have been some very pivotal moments where you hit rock bottom or where you had gone through some challenges and were able to navigate those challenges. Can you share with us, since you started, areas where you found challenges and how you were able to overcome those particular challenges? The place where you felt like, did I make the right decision or was this the right path to go?
Okay, so I want to tell people one thing. I've not really felt that I'm on the wrong path. I have never, even in my bad situations and challenges, I've never for once regretted leaving my job, because even my bosses back then were like, okay, let's see how it goes. And I went to visit them 6 months after, and some of them were like, really? So you're still on this path? We thought that you were going to come back for your job after 6 months. I said, I'm sorry, you guys are going to wait for a long time, or you're going to wait forever, not even a long time, because I'm not coming back. I have gone through challenges over the years. After 3 months of leaving the job, all right, people were hiring me to coach them, hiring me to teach them. But it looked like after 3 months, it looked like darkness suddenly. Just clients suddenly refused to renew their contracts. I got to a point where I was thoroughly lamenting. Even got to a point where my son was sent out of school because I couldn't pay school fees. It had gotten to that point, I couldn't pay school fees. Somebody would say, okay, of course, you worked at an oil servicing company and then you resigned. You are given a payoff. And this is one of the things I usually tell individuals. For those of us who worked in oil servicing companies, we always felt that salaries were just constant. We're not owed salaries any month. And so you could actually make a good forecast based on how much you got paid and the date of the payment. Every last Friday of the month, we got our salaries. And many of us, we were just spending. I mean, I wouldn't say I was so extravagant, but I wasn't a good money manager at the time. And then the company doesn't do like other oil companies where when you are leaving, they give you a very sizable chunk of, say, 10 million, 25 million. No. We were always paid all that money that you're going to be paid when you leave the company. They were all amortized and they were being paid to you every year that you stayed in the company. So instead of you getting every December, if your salary is, say, 300,000 naira, for example, I don't know, maybe I'm using naira as an example. Okay, let me use dollars. If, for example, your salary is, say, $3,000 a month, all right? Every year, every December, you find out that instead of getting paid $3,000, you get paid $6,000. That extra $3,000 you get paid. Understand that the company is paying you ahead of time when you are going to leave the company finally.
Oh, wow.
So when you now resign and you're expecting to have, say, $50,000 or $100,000 as payoff, no, you're not. So it's for you. They have already paid that. It was for you to be able to manage your money well. But nobody was teaching us how to manage money well. So we're just, that December, you just grew, you buy things for your family, you're just enjoying life. Some of us didn't even know how to save. Some of us didn't know how to buy assets and all that. I wasn't extravagant, but I was found amongst those who couldn't manage their money well. So by the time I was leaving, the money that was paid me was not even that so much. I mean, I was paid 660,000 naira, and I resigned in March. So imagine we just came back from holiday, January, February, March, I resigned. So my money wasn't large, it wasn't big. And so somebody will be asking, okay, why did you just get to the point where you couldn't even pay your son's school fees? Yeah, I got to the point because I wasn't managing money well. And then by the time I left, a lot of individuals who are calling for me, Emeka, you've resigned, come and do this. They stopped calling on me. And I was wondering what really happened. I think God wanted to teach me a lesson at that point, And so that very day, I remember I just said I needed to pay my son's school fees. So I took my laptop, went into a coffee shop because I was working from home that time, went into a coffee shop, and I designed one small ebook like that, and I set up the landing page and all that, and then they started marketing. By the end of the day, I had gotten 27,000 naira. By the next day, I had made it up to 50-something thousand naira. And then I was able to pay a bit of my son's school fees so that he could go back to school. But that was one of the dips of my life at that time, after resigning from paid employment. But then, before resigning, I had already done a lot of work on myself mentally, that this path must work. I have to put in my energy to make it work. So mentally, I was prepared for the dips. I was prepared for the highs. I was prepared for the dips. And you find out that most of the problems we have in this part of the world where we live in, my challenge has always been that people are not so open and amenable to knowledge. That has still been my problem up till now. I mean, the challenge till now. How you're able to sell what it is that you're selling. I mean, even to sell books in Nigeria, is a big challenge because so I have had these challenges. But the thing is that I prepared myself mentally. I worked with mentors, I prayed, I did a whole lot of things. I did linguistic programming, I did a lot of things, therapy and all that, to be able to fortify myself mentally to say, Emeka, when you're going through the deep, please understand that you're going through the deep and that it's a phase and it's a moment of your life. And so I stay in it. I appreciate the deep. I say this is happening to me. I don't try to say it's not happening to me or try to I don't know. But by appreciating the fact that I was going through the deep, helped me to appreciate the dark moments of my life, of my life as I move on this journey. So, what I can only say is that two things I usually do. Number one, or let me say three things. Number one is to say, this moment is happening to me. It's not happening to anybody else. I appreciate the deep. I understand the fact that we can go through dark moments, and that helps me to deal. Secondly, is the fact that, now that I'm in a deep, what is the solution? What's the next thing to do? Correct. Should you do this, do that, do this? And so I begin to work with, sometimes what I do is that I leave home and I go somewhere else and I allow allow my mind to wander. And my mind is, as I'm asking those questions, other things, answers are coming, facts are coming, ideas are coming, and I'm just noting them down. Sometimes with my phone, sometimes I go with my notepad and I'm jotting those things down. The third thing I do is that who can I see and connect to that can help me get another form of result that can help me overcome this challenge. And so my mind tells me, okay, go here, go to this guy, speak to this guy. And I go and I speak to the individual and they can give me just one solution, one strategy, and I get out of it. So that's the thing for me. Basically, to say that we will not go through the challenges, of course we will. Constantly, we will. Definitely. Where I had my office, I was invited to Abuja to go and speak at an event. And just before, the management of the facility called all of us who had offices there and said to us that they were shutting down. And they gave us only 1 week to pack out. I went to my staff and I told them, guys, this is the story. We have done all we can. There's nothing these people want to do. They're not giving us any extra day to move from here. So I'm going to Abuja, guys, pack all the things in the office and pack them to my home. When I come back from my trip, I will deal. And that was it. I left, went to Abuja, spent a week, came back, then packed everything. And then I made everybody to go remote. I said, everybody, go remote, work from your home. When I need you, we'll gather somewhere. So what we used to do was to gather somewhere and maybe in a coffee shop and a tea shop, do our thing, and everybody goes home again and keeps working from home. And I just got an office now. As I told you, I just got an office. I'm in my friend's office right now as I'm speaking to you, but I've just gotten an office, beautiful office space. They'll start painting and all that. And this now is our own space. No longer about management of, facility managers or anything. This is now our own space.
Wow.
We have our own landlord, who controls. But from the way I see the thing, it's a space that we may likely want to stay there for a long time if we want to, and then if we want to leave, we leave. So, challenges happen. Challenges happen. It's only for you to decide and say, what next step should you take? The next step for my staff was to go remote. And so everybody that were not working remotely before, I taught them how to go remote, and everybody went remote. Work continued. Right. And so, some of them even like it. Working from home now, they're lying on their beds, they're waking up. Yeah.
They don't have to do with traffic and all that stuff.
No more coming to the office, just for their laptop, and they're working. Well, so I asked one of them, she was like, I like it. I like to work from home. I said, see you.
So that's it. The story you just shared is very inspiring. Hope somebody else picks up what you just said. We have a very limited time on the podcast. I try to get in as much as I can. Thanks for sharing that last story. My next question would be something very personal. Married man, married for what? How many years now? When you made those transitions, were you married or were you single?
Okay, yeah. No, I was married at the time. But the thing was, before getting married, I already told my wife I was going to climb to the zenith of my career in engineering, and she was excited and happy. And then you get married to a man where the salaries were coming constantly and regularly every month. Mm-hmm. And then all of a sudden he starts telling you, I want to resign and I want to go and start blessing people's lives. Correct. It was crazy for her at the point. I could see her face. She wasn't happy. But guess what? In that situation, instead of you to lash at your wife and say, can't you see this about my life? This about what gives me joy? No. You have put this woman into a situation where she was at peace. She was financially okay. And now you are leaving a job to face a path where you don't even know where the next money is going to come from.
Uncertainty.
So what I did was to show her that it was going to work, to show her results. And on one of those occasions, I was invited to speak at an event. I got to the event, and after speaking, I was given 50,000 naira. Now it's equivalent to $50, so to say. I got home, divided the money into two, and I practically stoned my wife with that money. And I said, take this money. This is what is coming from what I am doing now. As she got it, as she counted it, guess what she said? Yeah. Come on, this in the walk. Oh, that was what she said. She spoke it in our language, in Igbo language. Right. She said, this thing is working. And that was all the push I needed. She had already accepted the path. Today she enjoys it. Some days I don't go to work and I'm with her in the house. Unlike before when I was. And so she is, yeah. So the thing is, on that path, you just have to, if you are taking a path and you have a partner who is with you already, you're married, or even if you're not married, you guys are working on your relationship. It's all about communicating. Communicate and then show the result. Tell them that it's going to work. And if things are actually working out well, why can't you also make their lives better? You should. You should. So that was basically what I did, constantly telling her about the vision, the new path, and constantly reassuring her that it was going to work, and she believed in me. And today she's even doing her own business. Back in the days, I'll come back and I'm pressing my phone, right? I'm pressing phone. And she'll be like, every time you're pressing phone, can't you take? Today now, she's running her own business and I'm pressing my phone. She's pressing her own phone and I'm looking at her. So he's looking at you now. So you're not pressing phone. Before you were worrying me about pressing phone. So you see that our journeys, she has also evolved and I've also evolved, and it's constant reassurance and having a communication about the new paths that you want to take. So that's it for me on that part.
This is good information, because I think if you have the right partner that's very supportive, it makes it much easier for one to actually grow. And especially when you're able to communicate or share the vision and the path of what you're planning to do.
Exactly.
So, and I guess the enabling environment for you to share that vision, knowing fully well that your partner will not shut you down or knock you out. Because I know guys who have wanted to follow their path and their partners just kind of thought they were just wasting time and ran them off the road, and vice versa. Guys who have wives who are very industrious and they shut their wives down and stop them from.
Exactly. Not nice.
So yes, so it's very dangerous, and it's very detrimental and unhealthy to any relationship. Emeka, we have about 3 more minutes to go, so I want to utilize my time well. Forgive me for rushing you a little bit. I'm going to ask you 2 or 3 questions, and we'll wrap up the show. Question number one is: if you were to speak to a 10-year-old Emeka at Government College Owerri, or 12-year-old Emeka at Government College Owerri, what would you be telling him now? The man that you are now.
That's the I can really tell you that I really don't have anything really too different from what I would have done when I was even younger, basically, because I grew up under parents who were quite very involved in our development. You know, my father was involved, my mom was involved. So all they used to tell us back then was read, study hard, become something better. And that was what we did. So we're exploring our talents, we're exploring ourselves. My mom was guiding me. So I feel like when I was younger, I give kudos to my parents for guiding us on the path. So I don't think I would give any different, because I don't think I really did a lot of mistakes when I was younger, because I had parents who were involved, who felt that we needed to grow well intentionally, and we did it. So I would still tell my younger self at the age of 10 to say, listen to your parents, explore your talents, right? Pay attention, read, and constantly be open to new inventions. I mean, that's what I can tell my 10-year-old self right now.
Have you noticed that in society today, people don't really read? What's that all about? What is going on with us not reading much? People are so captivated by catchphrases and sound bites that we don't spend enough time reading. What would you advise? How do you advise to young people that it's okay to pick up a book or an iBook or an ebook and just read? Because
we need to realize that reading has gone beyond just this, because back then this was just you get a book, you read a book, all right? The only things I can tell parents right now is, because I've seen that my son loves the computer. And the only thing I can say, if he's not able to read a physical book, there are other ways to read. To read great things. Every tweet that we read is a form of knowledge. E-books that we read, emails that we read, they're all forms of knowledge. The only thing I can say is not to force people to say, okay, this is a book, you must read it now, this is a book, to understand that whatever means that they are getting knowledge should be quite some meaningful knowledge. That's what I can say. So even if they're reading emails, even if they're reading tweets, even if they're reading Facebook posts, there are individuals that I follow on Facebook that when I wake up and I read their stuff, it feels like I'm reading a book, and it's valuable information. So for me, it's not about carrying the iPhone or the whichever phone that they have. It's what are they doing with those phones? That's the thing. A friend of mine, she's a single mother, but her son, she teaches her son how to use YouTube to be able to source information, because the boy is more of a visual learner. And it's a very beautiful way for the guy to also study and read, but then I feel like I still encourage individuals to read, even if it's a physical book, get a physical book to read. But in all your getting, let it be some meaningful information that you are engaging in. That's it for me, basically.
You're getting.
And so for authors like us, even as much as we like to write physical books, we also have to do ebooks, audio books, and people are consuming them in different formats. And it's a beautiful way to live. That's what I can advise.
Wow. Second question: who's your mentor, or who are your mentors? Top 2 mentors.
Oh well.
I think I know one of them just by what you just said.
I'm quite a guy that could be weird, so to say. I used to have mentors back in the day, mentors, people I'm close to, who know about my life, who are involved in my life and all that. But over time, I just evolved. And so I just feel like, for me, I better off I have masterminds those who I can go to and just talk to, and they give me advice, and I move on. I feel like people being so involved in my life, I'm not saying it's not good, but somehow not so palatable to me. So I feel like, when I have these individuals, they could have so much power. They could tell me, Emeka, don't do this, don't do this. It doesn't mean I am defiant, so to say. It means that sometimes I want to explore the depths of my creativity, and somebody says it's not nice. For example, church folks, pastors. I've seen individuals who have pastors, and their pastors tell them, don't do this, don't. And I'm looking at, man, this guy, this is a very creative stuff to do. And the pastor is saying, don't do it. Do you know what you are doing to your life? Do you know this guy, this pastor, because of maybe lack of understanding or limited knowledge, has stunted your growth, or because they feel that it's ungodly, so to say. I can tell you for a fact, one of the phases of my life where was, I don't know, I really don't want to go there, but then it's one of the things that will happen to me, basically. I went to Italy, then I bought a Masai, a figurine. And a friend of mine came there and said to me that, that figurine can be possessed by spirits, I should throw it away. And guess what? I threw it away. And many years later, I was like, Emeka, was I dumb by the time to have done such it was painful. So, is what I can say. I can't really say I have mentors now. I just have masterminds because I don't want anybody to just be so much in my life and want to make me not to take certain steps. So that's what it is for me.
So who are your go-to people that you go to get knowledge or get questions or get results? The masterminds you talked about. Just name a few people that somebody else can reach out to. You're going to be someone's mastermind very soon, right?
Yeah, those masterminds, I have them. There are 4 of them. Nambi Ibe, Richard Chile, Maple Dapa, and Olumati Isaiah. So these are my masterminds that I go to and I connect to them. And life is good.
I think everybody needs to have that in their support system.
Yeah.
To go to and bounce ideas off to. Someone who is not non-threatening about the gifts that you have. Someone who has accomplished in their own right and allows you to be who you are. I think those are very important people to have in your world. I always wonder when people say I don't take any advice from anybody, or I don't bounce back ideas from people. It's a problem. It's a real big problem, because you're going to make some very irrational decisions or wrong decisions. We all need that support system one way or the other, even if it's just your spouse or your partner or whoever it is, that you can bounce those ideas off. And then you listen when people talk. Because what happens if you keep on talking all the time and you don't listen, you can't take in any good knowledge. Last question before we let you go. Look in the camera. There's a young person out there, a young man, young woman, who wants to take this big, bold step, but doesn't know what to do. Can you tell them something that is inspiring and uplifting? And we can wrap the show.
What I can tell them is, don't just jump the process, all right? Understand the process. When I was about to leave paid employment to do what I'm doing today, I had to travel. I traveled all the way to Lagos, traveled to different parts, seeking for individuals who had gone on the path and sitting under them to ask them relevant questions. What should I do? What's the next step? I remember one of them said to me, income follows assets. He said to me, Emeka, go and have as many assets that you can, because you need income on the journey. Another one said to me, Emeka, expose yourself as much as you can, so that individuals will know you and will not doubt your credibility and your expertise. And every one of them gave me strategies and pieces of advice that could help me to go on the path. So don't jump the gun, follow the process, and then stay diligent. Be patient, because this thing does not just grow overnight. You need time, you need patience, and for it to grow. Understand that you're not on the journey to run a race with someone else. This is your own race. Run it diligently, run it with joy and happiness. And even though you're measuring your metrics of achievement with other individuals' lives, but don't let it get you into a depressive state, because you may be looking at someone who is making $20 million. Meanwhile, you have $5,000. But understand that everybody's on a journey, and everybody will not make the same amount of money. Those who are playing football are not making the same amount of money. Those who are playing in NBA, all you need to do is to constantly improve on yourself, better your journey, correct, and be happy as you are achieving one milestone after the other. That's what I can tell you. Be procedural, study the process, take the process, don't jump so much, the process, and give yourself time and stay diligent on the path. That's it.
Perfect Perfect, wonderful advice. I was going to wrap up the show on that, but I just got a message from someone who's asking a question. I know this is going to take you a minute to answer, but please, if you can, just take 1 minute and address this. The person goes, how can businesses effectively navigate and adapt to rapid changes in their industry? How can businesses effectively navigate and adapt to rapid changes in their industry?
I mean, every change that is coming comes with a form of knowledge that you've got to have. And so it's pertinent that as you constantly build in your business, open yourself up to learning. I mean, that is what is going to help you to to adapt to changes. If you see, for example, now AI has come, and sometimes these things are not even rapid. They are coming to you day by day, and you're seeing it. But then you don't want to adapt. It's just like when we were in university back in the days. We told those guys who are typists to tell them that the computer has come. Go and learn how to use computer. If not, you're going to lose your business. Guess what they did? They were doing all like this. I mean, from the part of Nigeria where I was, they were saying, God forbid, our business will not go. And they were being religious over it. And we said, okay, fine. Before you knew it, students began to buy laptops, began to buy coupled computers, and they started losing their jobs. And so, was it rapid? No, it took some time for them to, So the thing is, for everything, for me, in my own industry right now, I'm constantly studying and seeing the new trends. How can I input this in my business? Will this make me better? And I'm learning, embracing the knowledge. The ones that I know I cannot do well, I can bring in consultants or people who are doing it well and say, okay, look at this. How can we inculcate this into our business so that we can stay on track? If not, the only thing is knowledge. That's what I can tell you. I mean, constantly staying updated and knowing that is this necessary and is this necessary and important for you to include in your business so that it can stay afloat? If yes, please go for that knowledge and make sure that you put it into your business. And if not, they're headed towards extinction.
Thank you so much, sir, for your time. I know we can spend on time.
Thank you.
There's a lot of wealth of knowledge there. Just hang out after the show so we can have a little chit chat in the back end. On behalf of all our guests who are watching and all the audience, we want to say thank you to our guest today, Mr. Emeka Nobis.
Thank you very much.
The African giants in Nigeria. You're one of the sons that are making a big impact globally. To all our guests, please follow us, like us, subscribe on our YouTube channels and other channels where we can find out the BNS podcast. The more you support us on the BNS podcast and we continue to grow, the better we become, and we can bring you more resources that will help you. I'm glad that this platform is transforming lives. I keep on getting messages in my DM about what's going on, and so we truly appreciate that. So on behalf of all our guests, in our famous 3 words, as Emeka blacks out, it's love, peace, and more grace. See you guys soon. Thanks, Emeka, for your time, and God bless.